Good afternoon, everybody. Do we need more Pete's coffee? Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I always like to start off with a couple questions. So, we are on campus after all. How many of you are products of California public education? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. How many, well, you can put your hands down. How many of you are satisfied with the level of government services here in California? Raise your hand. Not dissatisfied, satisfied. How many of you believe that public education is worth fighting for? And that's why we're here, because of public education, because it is worth fighting for. It's really about investing not in our past, but in our future. And let me tell you how we got to this place today. Because 30 years ago, we had a ballot measure named Prop 13. Most of you weren't even alive. Some of you might not even have been voters at that point. But what it did was, it put our state on a different path. On a path where we decided we didn't want to invest in our future anymore. We wanted to borrow from our future. And that's un-American. It's un-Californian, and it's plain wrong. Prop 13 created the biggest tax loophole in the state's history. Because if you were around in 1978 and you said, hey, so let's go support Prop 13, what would you have seen? You would have seen commercials for gray-haired ladies crying in front of their houses that had a for sale sign because they had to sell their homes to pay property taxes. In the right-wing business community, they're going to come and tell you that Prop 13 is a great thing because, look, property taxes have gone up 800% since Prop 13 was passed. And for all of us who are taking math here at Berkeley, that sounds like a lot. Well, let me give you another stat, which I know all of you are very familiar with. During that same time, UC reg fees have gone up 1,000%. How many of you think that's right? That's it? Only two people in the... How many of you think that's right? And don't think those two things don't have a correlation. Because what Prop 13 said to Californians is, we want to stop paying for public education. We want to stop paying for public services, whether it's transportation, whether it's roads, whether it's health care, whether it's human services. So what the ad didn't tell you is, you might have a few more seniors in their homes today, but if they need support services, well, those just got cut. If you need someone to get you health care, well, I'm sorry, that got cut, but you can stay in your home. If you need a ride to the hospital, well, ma'am, I'm sorry, that got cut, but you get to stay in your home. So that's the choices that we have made. Those are the choices. And frankly, most of us didn't make those choices because we weren't even allowed to vote. The right wing, this is, well, this Prop 13 discussion, that was done 30 years ago. Well, I don't know where they were at. I wasn't even a voter back then. And I don't think I should have to pay for mistakes in people's past when I wasn't a voter. And I don't think you should either. So how can we affect change? So you're going to hear a lot of talk about the California budget and, oh, we need process, we need local control, we need this, we need that. But the California budget only has two pieces. Let me tell you what they are. And you all know what they are. They're revenue and expenses. So when anybody asks you about reform, ask them, well, how much money are we going to generate? Or how much money are we going to cut? And you're going to get this look in their faces. They're kind of like ashen. Because this last year was about the 10th year of our structural budget deficit, which is a fancy way of we spend more money than we bring in. And some of you might be getting some help from your parents. So some of you might have got that conversation, hey Phil, you're spending too much money. You might need to cut back on this or cut back on that. And that's what people will say, let's cut. It's not that we have too much money. We need to cut out of that $90 billion general fund in the state. So the budget deficit, let's just go through a little math. The budget deficit was $90 billion Sorry, the budget was $90 billion. The budget deficit was $26 billion. So let's just go try and cut it. I know my good friend, Majority Leader Alberto Tarico, can tell you all about that process. So let's put $26 billion on the table. Well, we can get rid of every single prison. We can get rid of the entire corrections budget. Well, I know some of you will cheer. Some of you will cheer. Well, not going to get you there. It's $10 billion. $10 billion. That's what it is. So where do we go to next? Well, what about higher ed? Is that a popular idea here? Boo, right? Higher ed. If we cut every UC, meaning we would shut it down, every CSU, every community college, that's about another $13, $14 billion. So that's how you cut to 26. That's not even 26, that's 24. But that's how you would get there. By closing every single prison and by closing every single university. I don't think who's in favor of that? Who thinks that's a good idea? Who thinks that's a good idea, right? Boo. So what can we do?